So you're good. So ladies, thank you so much for sitting down with me and chatting with me. I'm just super excited and overwhelmed. Thank you so much for the information that you provided for us. And I just feel like all those ladies and gentlemen in there, which is interesting, that they're going to be in there, and just I feel like they're gung-ho and kind of on fire right now. So thank you so much for that. And so I just have a couple of simple questions just so I can add a little bit more personality so our readers can get to know who you are as people. You know, sometimes we see people on covers or we hear how awesome they are with their TED Talks and their, all their accomplishments, and we forget their people. So this is kind of that opportunity for them to just hear who you are as a person. So just some really simple questions. Awesome. Very, very simple. So just kind of, where did the idea of EBW 2020 come from?
EBW 2020, it literally did come through, like it was prayer. So I was on a ranch in Dallas, and I was driving down a dirt road and literally holding the wheels of the car and just started praying and asked, as I talked a little bit about today, but had really made the decision to hand my life over in service. And we were going through some crazy things then. I mean, we being my husband and I, we were involved in a couple ventures that the partners, it wasn't good. And it was a time in my life when I was ready to go into service. And then when I asked the question meditation, that is what clearly came back, clear as day. Yeah.
And kind of tell your role in the whole thing and kind of bringing this vision to life.
Holding it together. Running it. Making it happen.
Well, Ingrid and I have known each other for 8 years. And as I mentioned in the talk, it's because we met through our support circle, Billionaire Girls Club, where we've been meeting with each other once a month for the last almost 8 years. And it's very interesting because the last 3 years I have been teaching in a college kind of as an adjunct faculty. And I knew that wasn't my final destination. And I too was like, just God, just show me what I need to do. Like, I want to be a life in service. I know this is not my final destination. So not to say that I didn't love those youth. In fact, one of them is now one of our global ambassadors representing Angola and South Africa. And there have been so many blessings from that experience. But I truly would, so many days for the last 3 years, I would just say, just show me the way.
And now she's like, oh no, I'm working like crazy.
Yeah, and I think we always wanted to work together, and it just came together this fall. And Ingrid literally called me and said, would you consider joining us at EBW 2020? It's like, yes. I will make that happen in any way that I can. And so I have never looked back. And so it is, I feel truly blessed. And in fact, one of her good friends, who is a producer and tells entrepreneurial stories, he reached out to our team and said, tell me about, he was asking for inspiration or ideas. And I'm like, honestly, I just feel at home. I feel so at home at EBW and with this team and what we're doing. And I feel like everyone on the team is really galvanized around this higher mission. And so it's kind of like self is not a part of it. It's like, just get out of our way because we're going to get there.
I love it. So did you two know that you were praying basically for the same thing?
No, really.
That is amazing. Isn't God awesome? Like, that is just...
Yeah,
just so awesome.
It's interesting because our circle of 5, we're all very spiritual individuals, but in very different ways of how it shows up. And so spirituality definitely comes up in our conversations, but because we're all so busy, and imagine we usually try and keep our calls to an hour. There's 5 of us. You don't have a lot of time to give an update or to ask for support.
I love it. So kind of segue into that, how do you balance your spiritual life, your business, this new venture, your family? How does that kind of work in kind of each one of your lives?
Do you want to kick off? And then
Sure. For me, it's just so much part of it. I think being a mom of 2 young boys, my husband travels quite a bit. It's hard. So for me, literally, sometimes my prayer is when I'm walking the dog because it's quiet. And other than him tugging and pulling a little bit, his name is Mojo. And, you know, he to me is also like a spiritual soul, part of our life. But so many times in those mornings, like that is where I'm just like, show me what I need to do today. Show me who I need to talk to. Like just completely turning it over to God or the universe or whatever, you know, people want to call it. And, you know, it doesn't just end there. I mean, and I feel like all of us on our team are very sensitive to the energy, to what's going around us. And so there's been times, I'm not kidding you, where I can sense where Ingrid will, like, she'll find out later. She's like, were you praying?
Yeah.
And she'll know, you know, and that happens with several of our team members. So it's kind of hard to explain, but that I think is what unites us, is this spiritual foundation.
Yeah. I mean, I get goosebumps.
Yeah.
And I'm actually looking over at Connie because I'm like, I can't wait till she even spends more time with us in Austin. I know Atlanta's your home. And we will be here with you here in Atlanta. It is, yes. My husband, thank God. It's almost like he knows he's my priority, but he knows that like I exist on planet Earth to serve my calling. So my number one priority with everything that I do is even when, you know, it's funny because when little drama-ish things that, you know, 10 years ago would have knocked me off my track and I'd be like, oh my God, I would have wasted a lot of time trying to figure things out. And it just no longer does. Like you could throw pretty much anything at us. And the feeling of it is, you know, this is simply taking time away, and I can't allow that to happen because we literally need to reach 1 billion women. Like that's what we need to do. We are so galvanized around that thought, and it permeates every single thing that we do. And my husband included, he works on the business not anywhere near what we do. He's different. He's an ops person that does his own thing, but he just understands. And that does enable it to work for sure.
Well, and I think just to tell us a funny story about Ingrid, I can't remember what the fiasco was, but it was a big fiasco. So we're all on the phone and, you know, we're thinking the wheels are going to fall. And Ingrid comes on as like super positive and upbeat, and her EA, Brett, was like pinging me. He's like, gotta love it. He's like, you know, super positive. And I can't even remember what the crisis was, but like most people would have, you know, been, I don't know, coming in with anger or frustration, and nope, like, because I think not only I think has she practiced and had a lot of experiences come her way, but it's that spiritual grounding. And I'm not saying, none of us are perfect, but I think we all try and, you know, model that for each other and support each other, because that would have probably been one of the times where Brett and I showed up on the call being angry and frustrated. So that's why she lifted us up, you know.
Definitely team effort.
And last question, I promise. So at BOSS stands for Business Oriented, Savvy, and Successful. That's kind of what the nature of the magazine is. So what is your acronym or definition of BOSS?
Ooh. You want to go first?
No, I'm laughing because my hair is naturally curly. So anytime I hear the word my husband would literally call me Boss and Curls. Like that has been a nickname.
That's awesome.
So anytime we'll be married 18 years this June, and so back to like when we were yes. I know.
You're not like old enough to be married 18 years.
So anytime I hear that word, and he still calls me boss, and I'm like, Steve, I'm like, I hate that. Like people are gonna think I'm bossy. I don't even know how the nickname got started, but I
love that. I like to think on the bossy front. Like, are you seriously asking, like, what do I think BOSS stands for?
You can do the acronym. You can do what it means as a whole to be a boss. You know, whatever it is that you feel moved to do.
I think on the boss front, I'm like, you know, I think the more that, especially for women, that we just own this, like, we're just simply self-directed. You know, and that's it. You know, when you're really living out your calling, or you're really aspiring to make a vision happen, of course that name, that and another B name will come up, and it just is. But I think like owning it, feel like Yes, I am. And I would think like brilliant, original, sincere, I would say spiritual. But I think just, again, self-directed is really what I see that being.
Well, and I do think women need to take ownership of the leadership, ownership of being a leader. I think it's hard for women to find that balance because as young girls are labeled as being bossy or, it's not expected. So embracing that it's okay to be a leader, to be a leader doesn't mean that you boss people around. It kind of goes back to Ingrid's qualities that she said and the qualities that the acronym stands for.
Well, that's all I have, ladies. So you be real simple and painless. I really appreciate it.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for your time and energy and everything. I'm just totally honored to be just kind of sitting here with you ladies for sure. So,
well, you all as well. I mean, this has been such an awesome day. Connie, you just killed it in putting all these things together. Just amazing. And all of you guys. I don't know if you're filming or what, but
yeah, filming, recording, we're getting all of this.